His plan. He addressed the media earlier on, and in studio I'm now joined by Ted Blom. He's an energy analyst. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. Now, besides the fact that we heard South Africa won't be focusing on new nuclear until at least 2030, what are the other important things that came out of that document and briefing? Okay,
so the most interesting thing is the new hydro that they're talking about, which is the Inga scheme in Congo. They now plan to commission that, it seems to me, and that is good for 2,500 megawatts. And then there's quite a massive hike in renewables, around about 12,000 megawatts plus in renewables. But I don't think they've measured it correctly, because renewables aren't available full time. So they're adding chickens and pears. They're not adding apples and apples. So it's a little bit complicated. But overall, I think that we can look forward to, under this mix, as proposed, that energy prices between now and 2022 will increase 3 to 4 times. I'm quite pessimistic about the cost curve facing South Africa, given the proposed mix.
Why do you believe that there will be an increase of that amount that you've just spoken about? And then let's talk about renewable energy, which is coming to the fore, especially with the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producers Program. There has been some skepticism about that and the costs. Talk to us about that.
Okay, so the reason that the costs will go up is because, firstly, in the plan, Eskom decommissions about 12,000 megawatts of cheap coal power. These are old power stations that have been paid off completely, so they're operated only at a marginal cost of generating electricity. So you're throwing 12,000 megawatts out of the mix. That means that the average is going to go up much more. And then on top of that, you're adding about a similar amount of renewables to the mix. And as much as renewables themselves are cheaper, when you add the system cost for renewables, you're looking at a cost of about 5 times higher than the actual renewable cost, because you need to store the power for when you need it. Renewables aren't consistently available.
Okay, let's stay on that coal-fired power plants. Government's draft IRP program says that going forward, the new capacity requirement is driven primarily by that. We've spoken to associations like the Coal Transporters Forum, who say that it's going to decimate jobs. How can we look at, if we know that these are the facts, how to work around that and work with that?
Okay, so my anticipation is that we're looking at least 12,000 direct job cuts as a result of the closure of the older stations. The on cost of jobs is probably about 5 times that, because for every 1 job in the sector, there's about five supporting jobs. So I can understand why the Coal Transporters Forum talk about decimating the industry, and in fact decimating Mpumalanga, because that's where most of the work will be ceased. But at the end of the day, we all know that coal will come to an end sometime or other, and I think it's up to the country to make alternative plans to deploy those people in alternative skills and jobs.
Okay. The IRP from 2010 had predicted that we'd use about 30% more electricity than we are currently using now. What kind of effect does that have on our pockets and on the energy mix going forward?
Okay, so the prediction that, well, the fact that with hindsight the previous plan was over-optimistic by more than 30% shows you just how wrong these plans can be. That's the first thing. The second thing is being out by so much and having the terrible track record of Eskom in constructing new plant. I mean, that will result in the massive price increases that we see and that I talk about. The overcapacity on plant and the overruns on the construction side will just decimate the South African consumer and industry, in fact. We will close businesses under these scenarios.
Okay, so we know that Eskom, for the foreseeable future, is our main electricity provider. That's not going to change anytime soon. We've also seen a new board coming in at Eskom, and President Cyril Ramaphosa saying he's prioritizing state-owned enterprises and making sure they function better. Surely, and also we're seeing that 5,000 jobs or so are going to be cut from Eskom. So it seems as though they're trying to tighten the belt and trying to make sure that they work in an efficient manner. Should we not have hope from that?
Well, as far as I can see, it's too little too late. I've been complaining about the corruption and overstaffing at Eskom since 2009. So it's about nearly 10 years that the ship was taken before it's even talked about turning. And secondly, with regard to the government's intention to streamline and fix up Eskom, I see a lot of talk, but I see very little walk. They have a new board. In 6 months, they've put together what I heard was a turnaround strategy. Well, I'm afraid that turnaround strategy is not going to turn anything around. I expect to see more of the same, and I expect to see Eskom continue accelerating on its death spiral. It's not sustainable as it currently is configured. It's got 30,000 too many positions or jobs, and there's corruption from the top to the bottom. So until that's sorted out, I don't foresee any good news coming out of Eskom.
Ted Blom, an energy analyst, thanks so much for your time on SABC News.